Hey y'all, okay, I was not gonna comment on this Druski skit, but I have been asked by enough people for my perspective privately that I wanna go ahead and share a couple things publicly. So one, I am not in any way offended by his skit because what he did is satire. Satire is a form of comedic expression that essentially makes fun of an extreme case in a given set of cases. So when he's looking at the church, he's not making fun of the church. He's actually looking at the extreme case of pastors of really large churches who I guess live an extravagant lifestyle. Now, you have to understand the statistics. There are about 280,000 churches in the United States of America. Less than 1% of those churches have more than 1,000 members. I think somewhere like 96, 97% of churches have 200 members or less, which means most pastors in America are bivocational. They're working a full-time job while also caring for a church full-time. So you have to think about that. These are people who are working to provide for their families while at the same time they are carrying responsibility, 24/7 responsibility for people's spiritual, often emotional, intellectual, and mental needs, okay? Most pastors live on the edge of burnout. So his, I guess, example was satire because it's not the full story. He wasn't making fun of the church because 99% of churches don't fall into that category. I will say this though, we as a church are not beyond critique. If there is something that he said that maybe was offensive, I think that is something that we need to take a look at and be introspective about. Instead of being defensive, let's just ask ourselves, is this true? And if it is true and we don't like the way it's being depicted, is there something we need to change in response to that, okay? Thirdly, I remember some years ago, a woman had visited our church. My husband's a pastor. She visited our church for like 3 months or something. And it came to the place where I think members were like, I think she's going to join. And one of the members asked her if she would join. And she said, no, I would never join a church where the pastor and first lady were getting rich off the congregation, because I had a Tesla, my husband had an Escalade. But what she didn't realize is, number one, when my husband went into full-time ministry, he had to take a 50% pay cut because he was in corporate leadership. He had to take a 50% pay cut to go into full-time ministry. I was the one who was actually providing the resources for our lifestyle, and I was not on salary at the church. I've never been paid at our church. And so she made an assumption based on the lifestyle that we had that the church was funding it, when the reality is my husband and I, our two paychecks account for 20% of the tithes at our church. So it's actually the other way around. And so I say these things because I think we have to stop using the excuse that, see, I don't go to church because the pastors are getting rich. Look, find a small local church, get plugged in so you can be seen, known, and accountable, and you can grow.